Deathbed confessions usually come in whispers, but in Paul Schrader's new film, they're captured in 4 different aspect ratios with 2 different actors playing the same tormented soul. Now that's what I call going out with a bang.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cue music.
This is Movies First.
You know what's fascinating about this approach? It's like watching someone deliberately demolish their own legacy in real time, with Richard Gere and Jacob Elordi tag-teaming the destruction.
Well, speaking of destruction, this reunion between Schrader and Gere took 45 years to happen. Their last collaboration was American Gigolo in 1980. And instead of glamour, they're diving deep into the murky waters of mortality and truth.
It's quite the departure from their previous work. The story structure here is particularly bold. A documentary filmmaker being documented while he essentially confesses his sins.
That's what makes it so meta, right? Here's Leonard Fife, played by Gere, who spent decades getting others to spill their secrets, and now he's turning the tables on himself. But, and here's where it gets really interesting, he insists his wife of 30 years has to be there for every revelation.
Oh, that's just brutal. Uma Thurman plays the wife, Emma, and she has to sit there while her dying husband reveals he's been lying to her for their entire relationship. Like, who does that to someone they love?
You know what's really fascinating about this whole project? It actually emerged from real-life tragedy. Schrader's friend, author Russell Banks, was ill when he wrote the book this is based on. He wanted to call it Canada, but couldn't because another book had that title. So now we've got Oh Canada instead.
The technical choices are pretty ambitious too, using different aspect ratios for different time periods, mixing black and white with color. But from what we're hearing, these artistic flourishes might be getting in the way of the story.
Right, it's like they're so focused on the presentation that they sometimes lose sight of the emotional core. And then there's this really strange choice where they occasionally insert Gere into scenes with his younger self, played by Elordi. It's jarring and pulls you right out of the narrative.
Well, that makes me wonder, what's the point of all these technical gymnastics if they're not serving the story? Like, we've got this powerful narrative about truth and redemption, but it's getting buried under all these stylistic choices.
Exactly. And let's talk about what's actually being confessed here. We're dealing with draft dodging during Vietnam, abandoned children, multiple affairs. It's heavy stuff. But instead of letting these revelations land with their full weight, the film keeps interrupting itself with scenes of Fife going to the bathroom or falling asleep.
That's such a missed opportunity. These are the kind of revelations that could really make us think about how we all construct our personal narratives. You know?
And here's what I find really compelling. This idea that Fife is choosing to unveil all this on his deathbed. It's like he's ensuring he won't have to deal with the fallout, but everyone else will be left carrying these uncomfortable truths.
So in a way, even his final act of supposed honesty might actually be another form of manipulation?
Precisely. And that's what makes this film so frustrating. It's got all these fascinating layers to explore, but it keeps getting in its own way. The 6.5 out of 10 rating feels like it's reflecting that tension between ambition and execution.
Though I have to say, the casting choices are intriguing. Elordi apparently brings this likability to young Fife that helps us understand how he could have gotten away with so much for so long.
You know what this reminds me of? It's like when someone decides to clear their conscience, but they do it in a way that ensures everyone else has to carry the burden of their truth long after they're gone. The film might be messy, but maybe that messiness reflects something authentic about how we deal with truth and mortality.
That's a really generous way of looking at it, though I wonder if audiences will be quite so forgiving when they're trying to follow all these narrative threads and aspect ratio changes.
Well, maybe that's the ultimate irony. A film about a documentary filmmaker that might actually work better as a topic of discussion than as a viewing experience. Sometimes the conversation about art can be more revealing than the art itself.
You've been listening to Movies First.
Available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or your favourite podcast player. You can also stream on demand at Bytes.com.
This has been another quality podcast production from Bytes.com.